This is Todd Toback, and welcome to the No Limits Real Estate Investing Podcast. Whether you're trying to scratch and claw and get your first check in real estate, man, that's a great feeling. I remember when I went through that. Or if you're trying to build a business that throws off cash month after month after month without your personal day-to-day involvement, then this is the podcast for you. We've got a special guest here today who, man, is near and dear to my heart. I'm really excited to share the information that he's got and extract it. Man, if you are looking to do more deals where there's little to no competition, right? Little secrets where you can extract large amounts of money, where basically you're swimming in a pool by yourself with huge, huge fish. You're going to love today's episode. But before we jump in and interview today's guest, if you have not been to our site, go to nolimitsrealestateinvesting.com/script. And when you download that, you are actually going to get the very same script that I've used to lock up over 1,300 deals inside my company, and the very same script that thousands of investors have used across the country to lock up big monster wholesale deals. This is my gift to you. If you've ever wondered what to say and how to say it, this is your opportunity to get this for free. So go to nolimitsrealestateinvesting.com/script. So that being said, I want to introduce you to our guest today. And that is Joe McCall. And for those of you who don't know Joe McCall, probably doesn't need an introduction to all of you. But Joe actually is a very, very good friend of mine. I've known him, close to 15 years. He's done, hundreds or thousands of deals. I think we're going to extract that here today. But one of the things that Joe is phenomenal about is finding these little niches in real estate that produce easy cash flow without a lot of competition. And so I'm going to really put Joe on the hot seat here. He's going to give us a couple that he's used and currently using in today's market. I will tell you a little teaser for today, and that is he's got his two sons, doing deals, like teenagers doing deals with huge profits. And so and it's not wholesaling in the traditional sense. So I'm going to leave a little teaser there because I was just blown away and so impressed. If Joe's teenage sons can do it, you can do it too. So I'm just really excited. So Joe, welcome to the show.
Mr. Toback, good to see you, man. Those of you that don't know, Todd and I go way, way back. Probably, I think the first time we talked, Todd, was 2008. Mm-hmm. When did you come out with your lease purchase wealth course?
Yeah. So if you're listening to this, I came out with our lease purchase wealth system right around 2006. And Joe actually bought 2006. And Joe actually purchased the course and calls me. And if you're listening to this, right, Joe was one of you listening to this, right? Had a job, wanted to bust out. And, I remember that feeling too, Joe. I don't know, before you hit that, buy now button, or, ironically, I hate to say it, I'm not even sure if they had the buy now button. You had to call and give me a credit card over the phone.
Yeah, I don't remember, but I was working as a civil engineer. We were building some power plants, and I remember it was 2007 or 2008. It might have been right in between there somewhere, but I was working out in the middle of nowhere, Illinois, frustrated that I was traveling so much, gone from my family, I liked my job. I was real grateful. I was making really good money, real good employer. I had nothing to complain about, but I wanted to work for myself. I had the real estate bug. I'd been what I now call a professional student. I was a professional student for 3 years and wanted to get in the business, do real estate work for myself. Yeah. And I was getting real frustrated. I've done a couple of wholesale deals. I was really attracted to lease options because at the time in 2006, 7, 8, 9, even for the next 3 or 4 years, the market had taken a dip and it had become more of a buyer's market. And it was in a lot of ways easier to do lease options back then at that time. And I remember I bought your course, devoured it. I was out in the middle of nowhere, Illinois, and I had a coaching call scheduled with you. It was a free bonus that you gave to anybody who bought your course. And I was so nervous. I get to talk to Todd, and we talked about half an hour. And I remember saying, Todd, I just have one question. Can I really actually do this? Can I really make a full-time income doing real estate, doing deals? And you said, yeah, of course. I'm doing it. That's what this course is about. And so I believed you. Something triggered in my head. I remember, okay, I'm just going to believe him. I'm going to trust Todd, and I'm going to do what he says to do. And it was shortly after that, I don't know, 6 to 8 months, I quit my job, and I was making more money flipping lease options, and I called it wholesaling lease options. I was making more money wholesaling lease options part-time than I was in my full-time job.
Yeah.
And after about 3 months of consistently making more money doing that, I decided, you know what, I'm going to quit my job. This is good. And I did. And that was in the April of 2009. So maybe it was the summer or the fall of 2008 when we talked.
Well, Joe, let me stop you there because, I really want our listeners to kind of hear some of the things that maybe you're naturally good at that other people don't see. And for those of you who don't know, Joe, you got to go check out his podcast. But most importantly, I think Joe's got a book that is free. And by the way, we're going to, if you can take a look at this, it's called REI Secrets. And Joe's going to give it, Joe, is it free plus shipping?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a real book too.
Yeah.
Look at that thing.
It's a real book, reisecrets.com. Right. And, one of the things that I love about Joe though is, if you notice, we were talking about lease options, but he got into lease option assignments, right? Which was not saturated. It was a niche. It was a very, very easy way to make money. And Joe is ironically being sometimes if you're in the systems and kind of that engineering brain, you can get caught up in the systems, but this actually goes to your advantage, Joe, because you're like, okay, what is something easy and that we could repeat and that we can do over and over and over again that's going to produce money over and over and over again without having to hustle my face off. Yeah. Right. And so that's why
you called them teamwork assignments. You remember that?
I called them teamwork assignments, but man, you latched onto these things, right? Like nobody else, right? That's where you came up with the wholesaling lease options. And so I'm not sure if that's one of the strategies that you talk about in the REI Secrets book.
Well, this book, it's a simple book. And over the course of a couple of years, whenever I was, in the middle of a deal, in the middle of a coaching call with a student or a situation, or just inspired by something, I'd record a podcast from my car, about 5-10 minutes long. I called it REI in your car. And I did a couple hundred of those, and I took 100 of them and I turned them I got them transcribed and made them readable. And I turned them into this book called REI Secrets.
Yeah.
And each chapter is only about 2 pages long, 2 to 3 max. And I call it Daily Nuggets of Real Estate Investing Wisdom to help you get more leads and close more deals.
Right.
And I've gotten great feedback on this book. Somebody actually even called it the Tools of Titans for real estate investors.
I love it. I love it. Well, Joe, I'm sorry. Can I cut you off for a second and ask you a question? Sure. So in the REI Secrets, do you talk about what that wholesaling lease option is? Do you actually have a chapter on that?
No. Okay. Well, I might a little bit, but it's more like I kind of wrote it like a devotional, right? When you're just every day you can read one chapter, get an inspiration, get a little tip, a trick, something to motivate you a little bit. And so it's not specific strategy like lease options or wholesaling. It's more like motivational.
Awesome. So Joe, can you do me a favor and maybe you can give us a couple of tips?
Yeah.
Right. A couple of tips outside the book. So maybe 3, right, for the listeners here, and they don't have to buy the book. Obviously, I think you'd be crazy not to, but actually, you don't even have to buy it. It's free. You just have to pay for shipping. But just give us maybe three things in here, because I think you're just so awesome at taking complicated subjects and just making it so simple. So give us 3 tips here, Joe, that someone can use.
Well, a lot of things.
You only get 3, Joe.
Only get 3. All right. I just randomly opened up to this chapter called Done is the New Perfect.
Okay.
Done is the new perfect. And so many times we get stuck in perfectionist mode, whether it's, let's talk about marketing for real estate. You get the list and you scrub the list and you analyze the gnat's butt out of the letter. And you just try to think of, should I use blue ink or red ink? Should I use yellow paper or white paper? Should I hand address the envelope? And we just tend to overanalyze and overthink things. And I still get caught in things like this all the time. Right. Or I'm working on a podcast or a webinar, or I don't know, just like making good example. We've been doing a lot of land.
Let's take this right back to real estate. So done is the new perfect, right? What inspired that chapter in the books. It must have been a real estate related.
Yeah, I'd have to read the chapter again to specifically what it was, but I can give you a recent example of what it was.
Perfect.
We're doing some land deals right now, right? And when we're getting 2 to 3% response rates on our letters right now, right? Which is great. I mean, that's 5 times as much as you'd get in a house direct mail campaign.
Correct.
So when you get a lot of leads, it's exciting. And we don't talk to the seller until we actually send them an offer.
Right.
So we send a letter out, they call us, leave a voicemail. We do some research and we send them an offer. And if they accept our offer or want to negotiate the offer, then we talk to them. All right. But in that process of, we're getting a bunch of leads now. If you send out 1,000 letters, you're going to get 30 leads in. And you could spend a lot of time analyzing and nitpicking each different land deal. And so I find myself still getting stuck in this where I'm just over analysis paralysis. I'm looking at all these different comps and all these different places, trying to look at the sales and purchase history, when really, you know what? I just, done is the new perfect. Like, I'm never going to get a perfect offer, right? I'm never going to get a perfect, foolproof, 100% perfect offer. So sometimes it's just a simple matter of, all right, let's look at what the actives are, the active comps, right? There's sold comps and active comps. Let's look at now, for a 2-acre lot in this county, what are they selling for right now? All right. And you find the average, let's say an average 2-acre lot is selling for $20,000 in this area. All right. Just offer 10. Send the seller an offer for 10 grand. Done's the new perfect. Just get it out there. It's done. Move on to the next one. Because the number one rule in this business is not location, location, location. It's make offers, make offers, make offers.
Yeah.
And I preach this all the time. Your speed to income is directly proportional to the number of offers that you make. And that's a chapter in here. I know.
Oh, that's awesome, Joe. I'm a firm believer on that. So let me talk a little bit about that, Joe, because one of the things that, obviously, I specialize in big deals, right? That's one of the things I specialize in. But what you say is music to my ears. So I've had some people that say, well, give me a perfectly automated system to make an offer, right? And look, if you're listening to this, I could give you a spreadsheet that would spit out a number, right?
Yeah.
And but really that spreadsheet, whatever it is, it might make you feel good, but really it's done as the new perfect, right? Because it's going to spit out a fully wholly inaccurate number, right?
Yeah.
But the interesting thing is, you're at my done is the new perfect is, well, whatever you think you need to do, make sure you're at least $30,000 or $40,000 below that.
Yeah.
Right. And that's done. That is my done is the new perfect, right? For you, it's just send some written offers and make some mistakes, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I just love that so much, because the market will tell you where you need to be when you go and sell that property.
Exactly.
Right? And so if you make $2,000, you're like, okay, I need to go lower next time, or I need to renegotiate.
Well, and another example of that is in one county that I'm in, I got too many offers accepted. All of a sudden, I got 7 contracts that they've signed on my desk.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, I'm probably offering too much.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm not going to beat myself up. I'm just going to renegotiate a lower price or cancel my contracts and do it again. But like, we tend to overanalyze things that we're not familiar with, or like, I'm an engineer by background and I like to have everything kind of laid out. And when I get stuck in that analysis mode, I just get frozen and I'm like, I can't make a decision. So just make the decision, go for it. You can always fix it later. You can always adjust and fix your mistakes later. And you've got to remove this fear out of your head of making mistakes.
Yeah. Well, that's great, by the way. The website for the book, by the way, is reisecrets.com, correct? Yeah.
Yes.
So awesome. And so one thing I want to, mention too, in terms of done is the new perfect, is a lot of times, 99% of the stuff you worry about actually doesn't happen. Right. And now you actually have a whole different problem, which you're going to have to address anyway. So you might as well save your mental energy, right? Because the thing that you plan for is actually not going to happen. It's going to be a different problem. So for you, you're like, what if the seller says no? Well, you got 7 contracts, right? Which, you're like, what do I do? And you probably weren't even prepared to sell those at the time, right? Didn't have the systems or process. Everything is breaking, right? But I can tell you this, knowing from Joe, tell us a little bit about the money that you've extracted out of your business with your 2 sons, because I know that everyone's wanting to know, hey, what have you guys done in this business?
Well, about 3 to 4 years ago, my sons, they were not yet old enough to go out and get a job and legally. And then they kind of wanted them to get into real estate. And I just felt like, as a 16-year-old kid, my oldest son's probably just not mature enough yet. And maybe I'm underestimating him, but he wasn't mature enough yet to actually talk to sellers about a house and try to negotiate a price and ask them these questions. I mean, he sounds like this little kid. So I thought, what about land investing? Because with land investing, the way I do it is you send out a neutral letter, like a letter, hey, do you want to sell your land? Call me. It goes to a 24-hour recorded voicemail. The voicemail says, hey, what's the reference number on that letter? We'd send them a text. And then we from that reference number on that letter, we can go into the list that we bought and get all the information about the property.
Yeah.
And then we can go to Zillow and see about what a 2-acre lot is selling for. And then we make an offer at 25% of whatever we feel we can sell it for. All right. And then we send it to the seller. So my sons started helping me with that. More of like, I send out the mail. They processed all the incoming leads and all the follow-up, because we send multiple offers to the seller. Every month we send another offer to them.
Right.
So they just kind of took care of that for me. And I was partnering then with somebody else on the disposition side. I mean, so over the 3 years or so, with my boys' help, we grossed over 150 grand in profits. I mean, literally working very, 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 very part-time. Like there were some weeks where we were working maybe 5 to 10 hours a week in the business. And then a lot of weeks we weren't working anything. So over 3 years, I mean, my boys made a lot more money doing that than they would have, working at McDonald's or Chick-fil-A,
That is awesome. So how old were they when they started?
14 and 16.
Oh my gosh. So now they're 17, 20?
Well, now they're 16 and 18. One of them doesn't do it anymore. He just hates being behind a computer.
Yeah.
So totally fine. And he's leaving. They're both leaving for college in a month or two now. So
okay.
My 16-year-old, when it's a long story. I won't go into all the details, but he wants to start an investing business.
Oh, that's great.
And he's super excited about that, but he wants to finish. He wants to go to Bible school for a couple years.
Nice.
And that's done. Then he wants to get into real estate and do that.
All right. So let's get into a second tip from the book, Joe.
Yeah. Well, feeling overwhelmed. Why? Oh, look at this. Why I love lease options.
Oh, nice. Okay, let's get into this. So, Joe, why do you love lease options? And by the way, for those of you who don't know, this is near and dear to my heart. I've talked about this. It's how I've did some of my first big giant deals. So, go ahead, Joe. Why do you love lease options? And what are they?
Okay, so a little quick 5-second backstory. My first investment property was a rental that we lived in and we moved out because my company transferred me to California with my wife. This was 99 and 2000. And we put a tenant in there. It's a complete nightmare, disaster. Every week they called me with something new to fix. Everything was always breaking. I got so frustrated paying a plumber $200 to fix something that I could fix for $20.
Right.
And so I just said, I'm never owning rental property again. Fast forward a few years, somebody told me about a book by Robert Sheeman called The Secrets of a Millionaire Landlord. Right. And in there, he had a chapter about lease options. And with a lease option, you can make the tenants responsible for the day-to-day maintenance and repairs because they have more of a homeowner's mentality, a homeowner's mindset that says, I'm going to buy this house and I'm going to take better care of it. And I'm going to fix these things myself. So that is my first bullet point here of why is number one, you can rent properties out to tenants who want to buy them. They're not just going to call you every time the faucet leaks. They're better, more responsible, and tend to take care of the home better because they have a future interest in it and they want to buy it.
Right.
You can typically get a larger deposit or an option consideration from them. If they don't buy the house, they forfeit their deposit.
Right.
And you don't pay any realtor commissions. You can make them responsible for the day-to-day maintenance and expense. So here's the thing. Fast forward 10, 15 years, I don't know. We had a lease option. We had a house that we were selling on a lease option. For 7 years, I had one tenant buyer in there, okay? He never bought it, but guess what else he never did? He never called me one time to fix anything, and he never missed a month. He was late a couple times because he was going through divorce and stuff.
Right.
But he never called me one time to fix anything. And when I got the house back 7 years later, the house was in better condition when I got it back than when he moved into it.
Oh,
right.
And so that's so awesome. So anyone who's listening to that, it sounds like that's a great way to sell a property and hold it, right? We've talked about this. But you can actually buy a property that way, right?
Yeah.
Can you just talk a little bit about that? Since you're now the expert.
Well, yeah. So, there's a lot of different ways you can buy properties, but you
Mm.
can buy them by creative financing. You
Mhm.
can, and this, I do this a lot where I offer the seller options. I'll give them a cash offer,
Mhm.
and then usually that's the lowest. And then I give them a little higher offer and a little higher offer.
Mhm.
Sometimes you can buy a house with a lease option or by taking over their mortgage or
Yep.
subject to, or do straight up owner financing. So it kind of depends. If it's a cheaper property, I'm not going to make a lease option offer on a cheaper property. I might make an owner financing offer or
Yeah.
subject to offer because I want to take control of it. If it's a more expensive property in a nicer suburb and it doesn't have as much equity, I might make a lease option offer on that. So it just really kind of depends. Um, yeah. Does that
Okay.
answer your question?
Yeah, that does. All right. So, Joe, let's wrap it up with one more tip here from the book, right?
Ah,
Something juicy. You could take a second here. What is this?
realtors, are they
Oh,
friend or
realtors, friend or
foes?
foe?
And I learned a lot about working with realtors from you, Todd.
Mhm.
Realtors, are they friends or foe? And what do you think the answer is, Todd?
Well, for me, I actually look at it. I try to make everyone my friend, right, and
Sure.
have no enemies, or look at that because it really doesn't serve me at all, right? I can't think of one good reason why looking at my competition or what is perceived as competition has ever helped me, right?
Yeah.
So I always look the other way. But you tell us, Joe.
Well,
You tell
realtors
us, Joe, whether
are
realtors are a friend or a foe.
realtors are friends, right? I mean, because think about it. Anytime anybody wants to sell a house, 80-90% of them, the first person
Mhm.
they're going to call is a realtor.
Yep.
They're not going to think, who's that Joe home buyer guy? I'm going to call him. No, they're going to call a realtor.
Right.
And realtors, they get the first dibs on 80 to 90% of all the deals.
Right.
So when you can establish and build relationships with realtors,
Mhm.
you can get some great off-market deals. Todd, let me tell you, one of my favorite marketing strategies is calling realtors of older listings that need work, right?
Mhm.
So just go to Redfin, look up all the properties that have been on the market over 60 days. And I could
Yeah.
go to San Diego right now and I could find several of them, a couple dozen, I'm sure, that have been on the market. If the market's so white hot right now, why could you go to San Diego? And maybe I'll do this here in a few minutes, but find, a bunch of properties that have been on the market over 60 days. Well, because they're overpriced, right? So sometimes what I like to do is I like to go look for properties that are been on the market for over 30, 60 days and look for the ones that need updating. Only an investor would buy.
Mhm.
And I call the realtor. Say, hey, I'm Joe. I'm an investor. I'm looking for some property in the area and I'm out of town. I'd be completely honest with them. And I'm looking for a deal. Can you tell me a little bit about this property? Looks like a nice house. I'm surprised it hasn't sold yet. What do you think the problem is? I know what the problem is, but I want the realtor to tell me.
Yeah.
Well, it's just, it's overpriced or,
So good.
and I know there's a railroad track in the backyard. So I'll ask the realtor, what's going on in the backyard? What does it look like back there? Right. I want the realtor to tell me why this house hasn't been
Right.
selling yet. I said, I'm sure you've gotten tons of offers, right? And then I just wanted to ask the realtor, like, well, what are they negotiable on their price? I mean, after I asked them things like, how much work do you think it would take to get fixed up? If I fixed it up, what do you think it would sell for?
Right.
Man, I don't know if I can get the seller that price, but what if I could lease the property for a year or two? Do you think I could get the seller that price if I could lease it for a year or two first or something like that, or probably not? Well, and then I also tell the realtor, listen, I don't have any agents representing me right now. So if you bring me a deal, you can get both sides of the commission. Right. And that just opens up a lot of interest. That's one of the first things I tell them is like, if you can help me with this deal, you can represent me and get both sides of the commission.
Yeah.
And then I always ask, do you have any other properties that you might want to sell that maybe need a lot of work and all that? And I'm telling you, every time you go to a realtor with that kind of an attitude, like, I want to get this property. This has been a problem property with this realtor. She's probably really frustrated that it hasn't sold yet. The owner is obnoxious, and it's a crappy property. It doesn't show well. And when I can come and say I can help you with this and any other ugly, nasty properties that you don't want to list either, let me know. And you can represent me. You can get both sides of the commission. I'm a serious buyer. Anyway, so when you approach realtors like that, of like, how can I help you grow your business and help you make more money? It's amazing how much work they will do for you and how many deals they can bring to you.
Yeah. Joe, that's phenomenal. And I really want to reiterate, one of the things I've just noticed about everything that you've mentioned and pretty much every strategy is, you don't go with the flow of like mass texting or, or cold calling a bunch of people. It looks like you're looking for kind of like the path for the least resistance in the strategy, but then also, hey, how do I do a deal today by, getting on the phone, making it happen, talking to people and making offers. And that's a great strategy. You guys you need to check out Joe's book, reisecrets.com. I'll pop it right up here.
REI Secrets.
reisecrets.com. It's free. All you got to do is pay for shipping, which is very generous, Joe. Thank you so much for bringing that up and writing the book and taking the time. You've always been a servant. By the way, Joe is a phenomenal coach, huge giver. And so, man, awesome tips today, Joe.
There's 218 homes in San Diego County right now on the market over 60 days.
Right. So that's funny thing is that where most people's mind goes is, well, those are like, 218 people who necessarily aren't motivated. There's no problem. No, that's not true, because out of those 218, right, there's 5, right? 5 of those, right, that if you called all 218, which is not hard to do over a period of a month, right, or texted, by the way, that there's 5 possible deals there, right, which is just so amazing, right? So I'm sure you go in a little bit more detail.
Especially when you can offer creative financing, Todd.
Yeah.
You can say to the seller who's got this $650,000 house in El Cajon.
Yeah.
And I used to live there, right? It's a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, 800 square feet. And they're asking $650,000. All right. So whatever. But you know what, man, find out from the seller, like that's the absolute lowest they can go. They're not that motivated yet. I might say something like, well, what, if I could get them 650, do you think they'd be willing to wait for it? Would they consider something like seller financing or lease purchase or something like that? Or probably not, It's amazing though, when a house has been on the market that long, how much the realtors will open up and say, yeah, you know what? They might actually do that. Let me ask them. Yeah. And one of the things that I've done before, Todd, that's crazy, is Redfin allows you to download all those leads, right? You can download all those properties. You can upload them to PropStream, and PropStream will give you the phone numbers and the email addresses of all the agents. Okay.
I did not know that.
Well, you can email them, and I use a tool called gmass.co, gmass, okay, GMASS.co. And what it does is it sends a bunch of emails at once through your Gmail account, but it flies under all the spam filters. Oof. So it has really, really high deliverability. Right?
I like that, like the stealth bomber.
Yeah. And so I merge fields. I say, hey, Jim, I'm emailing you about your property at 123 Main Street. Looks like a nice house. They wouldn't, if I could get them their price of, I merge the price in, they wouldn't consider something creative like seller financing or lease purchase, would they? Thanks, Joe. I'm not giving them, a phone number or a website or anything like that. And every time I do that, Todd, I will get 10 to 20% of the realtors will respond back with some kind of positive response. Yeah, right. Maybe. I don't know. Good question. Let me ask him. And then the rest of the responses are usually no, but I never get an angry response.
Right.
And yeah, I mean,
that's awesome. You guys check out Joe's book, reisecrets.com. It's free. All you got to do is pay for shipping. Lots of tips in there, man. I just can't wait for you to dig into it. Also, remember, if you want to download that script, go to nolimitsrealestateinvesting.com/script. If you want to know what to say to sellers, how to say it, the tonality, if you've ever said, what do I say when I get a seller on the phone? Check it out, nolimitsrealestateinvesting.com/script. And again, don't forget to check out Joe's book at reisecrets.com. Talk to you on the next episode.
Thank you, Todd. See you, man.